Hey guys, it's Jordan here from SwitchWatch. How are you all doing today? Now today I'm hoping to start a new semi-regular video series titled the 3-game £5 Budget Gamer Challenge. This is where I choose 3 games on the eShop that together add up to or are just a little bit less than £5. If you don't know what £5 is in your regular currency here, we're going to find out if you can be a budget gamer on the Nintendo Switch and still have some kind of fun. So yeah, these games are picked at random. As long as they all add up together to £5 or less, it's all game. Now each game in this video is going to get a kind of a score. It's basically a grade out of 3. The lowest is a no. Then we have a maybe, and then we have a definite yes. And those are going to be converted into points as such. So a no is 0, maybe is a 0.5, and a yes is a 1. So at the end of the video, everything is going to get a score out of 3. Does that make sense? Anyways, early days, so let's just see how this goes. And in the comments below, let me know what you think. Would you like to see more of this kind of video? And what kind of improvements, what kind of changes would you have? Let's get on with it. Now just remember that all the prices and dates relate to the UK store. I'm sure regions vary wildly with this kind of thing, so just bear that in mind. Anyway, here are today's 3 games. Mecho Tales, currently 87 pence, which is 88% off the standard £7.49 price point. Next we have Plague Road, which is currently 94 pence with a whopping 92% off the standard £11.99 price. And finally we have Bouncy Bob, which is currently going for 89 pence, which is 80% off the £4.49 price tag. So altogether we have 3 games totaling £2.70. Yeah, we're well off that £5 target for this first episode. Without further ado, let's take a closer look at this episode's 3 games. Starting with my first purchase, we have Mecho Tales, which current offer ends very soon on the 27th of July. This is an action platformer made by Arcade Distillery and was originally released on the Switch very late last year on the 28th of December, no doubt lost in the flurry of the Christmas madness. While this can be played with up to 4 people together, running and gunning through the levels, I just took it as a single player experience. Firstly, what you will notice upon starting the game is just how ugly it is. The art style is pretty much horrendous with colour clashes, sickly tones, and platforms that look like they were put together by someone who couldn't be bothered. The characters and enemies look nice and well designed, but the environments are highly off-putting. If you can't make your ground anything other than the same singular blocks over and over again, then I think we have a problem. What you may be interested to know about Mecho Tales is that it's actually a run and gun twin stick shooter. The left stick allows you to move left and right, while the right analog stick aims the drone that follows your character around. There's a slight uncomfortable disconnect between you and the character as the drone follows you in a delayed fashion, making the aiming being from a different location than your actual character. I always wanted to aim from the perspective of where my character was rather than the delayed motions of the drone following behind, and it did take a fair bit of getting used to. The most interesting aspects of the game for me are the bosses, which are pleasingly frequent, and the different kinds of drones that you can equip. It's these drones where some semblance of depth may hide within Mecho Tales. These can be bought at the shop between levels, and you'll need to pick up cogs from enemies in order to afford them. There's plenty of variety and I recommend giving them a try. The gameplay overall is really quite mediocre, bordering on derivative and by the books of how old classic action platformers used to go. Just this is without the heart or nuanced purposefulness of how they used to be designed. It's just a lot of enemies, some platforms, ladders, and a boss fight here and there. I think you can have some mild amusement for this price, and paying the 87 pence is almost a laughable amount. That's actually decent. The original £7.49 price is a certain no-go. For something that's priced less than a chocolate bar these days, why not? It's just a question of if you value your time. Verdict? Maybe, if you've really got nothing else to play. The second game in our challenge is Plague Road, a game no doubt to be the biggest interest for many of you thanks to the massive saving and generally decent looking screenshots found on the eShop. By pure coincidence, this is also published by Arcade Distillery, like Mecho Tales that I just talked about. Once the game released during the Christmas period on December 21st, the sale for this one ends on August 2nd, so you do have a little bit of time to jump on board. Now, admittedly, I've had my eye on Plague Road for a while. I remember it getting a very limited retail release on the Vita, just at a point that I was eyeing up collecting for the system. I love the look of the artwork for the PR for the game, but honestly the trailers and screenshots didn't convince me at the time. However, the 94p price tag did. This is a turn-based strategy game with a very surreal, exaggerated medieval European setting. No doubt the cool looking Plague Doctor has caught your eye a few times. The first thing that struck me was how similar the interface and general design looks were compared to Mecho Tales. You can tell they are from the same developer. Again, characters look really nicely designed, but the backgrounds are incredibly off-putting with almost vomit-coloured tones and weirdness. I don't particularly like how nothing can keep still either. Even when the characters are standing still talking to each other, they act like they are carrier bags flapping in the wind. When you get past the unpleasant visuals, however, and get stuck into the gameplay, you'll actually find that Plague Road is actually a much better game than Mecho Tales. You as the Doctor are traversing a long road and heading back to the city where your skills are needed. The road, however, is very dangerous, full of bandits, wolves and golems. It's your task to venture out and rescue stranded innocents and take them back to safety of a derelict farm that you found. Once rescued, you can head back to base and unveil them as fighters. Some may be healers, other soldiers, peasants or engineers. There's a decent variety and you'll need many of them in your party to help you in your travels, as occasionally you meet up with people who perhaps need a healer or need an engineer to build something. Most of the game, however, is spent in the battles, which are on a grid-like system. As you wander around the environments, you'll end up touching monsters or bandits who will then initiate the battle. You move your fighters around the small arenas and participate in some simple fighting. It's quite basic, at least at the beginning until you get plenty more abilities and you fight tougher monsters, but it's still rather enjoyable. There's no XP to speak of, which can make the frequent battles sometimes a bit of a chore, but it all depends on your luck in the randomly generated levels. As for value for money, Plague Road is a no-brainer for the budget gamer. It's not the best or deepest turn-based strategy game in existence, but it has a lot going for it. Lots of content, a nice steady growth and progression system that's often rewarding and fairly addictive. In fact, I had to force myself to put it down in order to get on with the other games in this video. It's not the best game ever, but for 94p I think you'd be crazy at not giving it a try. At full price, I'd probably give it a nice recommendation to people who love strategy games too. It's a yes from me. Finally, we have Bouncy Bob from Sonka, a publisher that we've covered before with their release of The Way, which I reviewed. This one is a very different beast, however, thanks to its party-style arcade platforming. The sale for this one ends on August 1st. It also may be one of the least fun games that I've ever played, at least in the single player section. I will defend the game right off, saying that it's clear that it's built as a party game first and foremost, as multiplayer is the primed default option on the main menu. The single player component has Bob trying to eliminate enough enemies per stage by bouncing on their head. It's a classic platformer right there. Where Bouncy Bob tries to be different is in its infuriating control scheme. Bouncy Bob is a one-button game, as though it's primed and ready for a mobile experience. The A button is all you need here, but you will wish that you could have had more. Holding the A button will put Bob in his charging jump position as the directional arrow sways side to side. You have to time your jump when the arrow points to where you want to go. Mid-flight, you can slam the A button again to give Bob an extra flap or two to send him soaring in the air. I get where they were coming from, but when you have to land on the heads of zombies and rabid rabbits, which gather in large gangs, it's just an exercise in advanced frustration. The lack of any sort of precision or any outlet to put your skills to the test mean it's just not built for this kind of experience in mind. If you're honestly out to find a decent cheap single player game, stay well away from Bob. It's certainly not worth the £4.49 initial price, and it's not even worth the 89p in the sale. In fact, I really wish someone had paid me to play this game, rather than me paying for it myself. It's just not even slightly fun. I do like the visual style and the music is decent too, but the gameplay is just a no. So those have been 3 games for less than £5. As a reminder, we've looked at Mecho Tales, Plague Road and Bouncy Bob, and I think it's clear to see which one would get my recommendation here. Bouncy Bob is a bit of a dud, Mecho Tales is probably a last resort if you've got nothing else to play, but Plague Road is great value for money. It's not the best or most in-depth strategy game ever, but it's well worth the very cheap price. Overall in this episode, the 3 games have scored a total of 1.5 out of 3. Not bad going, but it could be better. Here's a roundup of the stats. So, budget gamers, did you pick up any of these titles in the current sales, or did you pay full price when initially released? Let me know. And of course, let me know what you think of this video, its format and so on. If you want this to be a semi-regular series, leave a comment and a thumbs up. And if you're new here and you somehow managed to find this video, then be sure to subscribe, as we aim to be the best Switch content providers on YouTube. We do reviews, gameplays, and a few features like these too. I've been Jordan from SwitchWatch, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.